Hello. So I'm Henrik. I'm the CEO and a co-founder of Chromaway. And I have a background as a developer. I've always been coding for 30 years. Studied economics at university, though, and I'm quite hard to impress when it comes to tech things. But when my ex-colleague showed me the Bitcoin white paper, I read it like it was poetry. So this is the first time someone could actually make a currency that wasn't dependent on a government or not even a single party and had no inflation. And purely through a combination of mathematics and economics incentives, microeconomics. So so that was very impressive to me. Something else that really impressed me was when my ex-colleague Alex, he showed me that he had made code to make Bitcoin work as a protocol, so you could issue assets on the Bitcoin blockchain and not use it as a currency. You could issue shares and equity or titles for real estate. That was in 2012, which is like ages ago in our business, and so because no one had done it at that time. So Alex was first with that, using Bitcoin for. So there was no real interest, but finally in 2014 we actually got a customer, and it was a bank. Crazy, we didn't think that banks were interested in this, but it was a bank from Estonia. They're always first with everything, they want to be there. So we did like a payment solution. You can pay with your mobile phone, bootstrapping on the Bitcoin network, but it was euros and not Bitcoin. So basically you trusted the bank to exchange those at euros, but we were actually won an award for that project. And in 2016 we started to work with a product that I'm going to talk more about now, real estate for the Swedish land registry. So, but let me see these advertisements, and I can skip that. I heard some advertising early, so I guess you're tired about that. So. So what is blockchain? So right now, if you want to share data between organizations, that's pretty easy. We just have your open APIs and stuff like that. But if you want to share with rights as well, you typically introduce a central entity, because like in an exchange or clearing house, if these are banks, and this could be a clearing house in the middle. Because you cannot open up your databases for rights with your competitors, and distributed databases are meant to be used inside an organization. So what a blockchain actually does is enables you to share data and processes and rights between each other. So everyone shares a copy of the data and can make sure that it's changed in an ordered manner, and everyone can see what data was entered by everyone. So you have a history that cannot be changed, and you have digital signatures of all the activities. So you can share out this with your competitors, you can share it across countries, and so on. So, and what are the, if you look at what is appealing with these technologies, if you look to the left, the old way to have a central party, is that a good solution in general? So that's why maybe the potential of blockchain is so why are we trusting a bank to is it a good thing that you only just put in money in the bank and hope that you get it out? You have no real guarantees, you have no real insight in what's happening with it. It's just a brand name. Whereas with a blockchain-based solution, the data would be shared perhaps by the financial inspections and other parties. In our business, we like this cover of the economics because it was so hilarious when it popped up in The Economist, this technology that we've been doing. So, but it's pretty good. It's about getting trust between different parties. So you don't need a middleman necessarily. So there could be cost savings by removing the middleman. It can also be new business opportunities. And it's also about cybercrime and so on. If you have a database or a data process is shared among different actors, it makes it harder to be attacked, because that could be an issue around terrorism or war or whatever. So there are companies that are using this technology perhaps because they are afraid of neighbors and so on. It started off Basically, it's us with our bank in Q4, 0 projects or 1 project or something like that. This ends in 2016, so it's growing a lot. So this is a really hyper business. And big companies are joining, and there's IBM and Microsoft and so on. So what are some of the, so I mentioned that already. Middlemen are removed, that's one thing. That is one of the characteristics of blockchains. And it's also, this would be open platforms, so and probably open standards, so we can probably increase competition among different players and reduce costs as well. Yes, so probably there will be networks effect in this, so things will become more global, which also has an effect on cost savings and so on, but could also be for competitions. Also, blockchains enables more specialization because you don't need to do everything, since you have this security. For example, a bank doesn't need to specialize and do everything. You can just outsource this to someone else on the blockchain. Basically, that's what this bank in Estonia did. So they didn't have to invest a single dime into infrastructure because they can just use the Bitcoin blockchain. It was already secure and so on. They didn't have necessarily to build an exchange because that can be done in a secure way by other parties. So it allows specialization. And also flattening of structures. There is not a single super administrator that you can bribe, that's some of the characteristics of blockchain. So what have we been doing? We have been doing a land registry project with the Swedish government and some other actors. I will mention them later. But it's around the process of buying and selling a house. So if you can get signatures of all the steps in this process, and you have a history that cannot be changed, and it's replicated among different nodes, you can have a very secure process. And for us, it can also bring down the time to do this. It can also remove various risks of corruption if you have these signatures. Because you see anyone that is signed, and you can make sure that sort of dangerous steps in a workflow are signed by perhaps more than one actor and at the right level. So, yes, so it's about the different advantages of this. Mortgage is one. For the banks involved, it could be a very much more digital process and yet secure. So you can lower costs and lower risks. They usually go together. And in particular, improve processes for manual work. So right now, it's a very complex process with real estate, and you can take that for any country. So there's a lot of actors involved, a lot of paperwork being sent back and forth, and if you can bring down the time to do an affair, you can really add some benefits. So with this solution, we're getting down the time from months to hours. So what's actually happening, for example, for the banks, is on the final day of settlement, they phone each other. So basically, Björn Bank needs to phone Benny Bank and stand in the queue. So yeah, now you're number 15 in the queue. So no. It's not like the optimal process. So if you can get rid of those kind of weak points, you can save a lot of money with this. So that's what's in it for the banks. And Sweden is we're typically quite happy with. I think we're quite digital and so on, but still it takes several months with paperwork. And if you can look at some other countries, this would be really beneficial for developing countries, where it could take 200 steps and several years to get a loan on your property. Now, getting a loan on your property, that's probably the thing that makes you open up a business and so on. So if you can bring down the times and the processes and make more security, get rid of corruption and so on, you can have significant effects on the economies. So in our project we have 2 banks, SBAB, they are big in mortgages, Landshypotek, they are big in mortgages and forestry and so on. Lantmäteriet is the Swedish land registry. Telia company, they are a very big telecom company, and they have an identity solution that we are integrating with. And Kairos Future, they are a futuristic consultancy. They write about the future, and right now we are the future. So for 1 year more, they will look at this, and we do the technology in this project so far. And we're looking for the 3rd phase to bring in more actors. So, and demoing it live is quite difficult, but we have made a smart contract middleware, you can say, that can connect to different blockchains. It runs the workflows locally among the actors that are interested, so not everyone can see everyone's information. You can have private information and so on. So this is a simulator that we made for this process, and the process is, it's basically a workflow. It's quite. Someone updates information, then it goes to the next step, and so on. So you can basically do this in a very simple way. So on the picture you see some information to the left, the state of the contract, the actions that can be done in the middle, on the right there's like a history in a blockchain. A blockchain means that you cannot go into the middle and change anything undetected. So if anyone tries to corrupt data, all the other actors will see this. So it's a very secure kind of workflow solution. And this is basically a picture of a blockchain explorer. We made our own federated, or you can call it a private blockchain, because we think we have made a new architecture that we think is very promising. That's not on the market. It wouldn't make sense for us to build a product that already have competition, but we think we can come with something new. We'll disclose more about this later this year. So that's a little bit about the real estate process, and feel free to ask questions afterwards if we have time left. This is, can be quite difficult to understand all the details about this technology. So here's another case actually for that we're doing for an Asian bank around property development. So the bank has some properties that are about to go into default, and instead of letting people go into default and the bank taking over the properties, they could sort of expose that data to other actors that are outside of the bank. So blockchain makes typically sense when you have more than one actor. So now a property developer can look into these properties, and the property developers issues that they have a hard time to find in good places to build new properties. So it's a win-win for basically everyone. So that's another kind of solution that is applicable for blockchain. Less of a workflow solution perhaps, but more about sharing data in a secure way. And I have some slides about the American mortgage process, and I'm a tech guy, so I'm not an expert on this kind of application, but I'm pretty sure that they also have a very difficult process. They have 3,200 county recorders, so not a single land registry like we have, but 3,200, and they have other actors like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and so on. It's a very complex process, a lot of actors involved, But basically, with this technology, you can take any of these processes and improve it. All these parties can see in a secure way the data and transact and add information to the process if you build it on a blockchain case. So there's a lot, the same efficiency gains with telephones and so on can be done on the US market, I would say, or basically any market. So try to more like streamline this into a blockchain approach where everyone can write to the data in a specified manner. So you get some kind of security to the provenance of a property and the data that is added at different steps. So it's basically up to the imagination what you can use a blockchain for. And a lot of people say that this is a hype business and what are the good use cases for a blockchain? But if you take the retrospect, what's the good use case of having a central point of failure that can crash? That's my generic answer to that, and that's why I'm becoming more of a visionary as I go, probably. I see a lot of cases where so why not? Why wouldn't you have a more secure solution? Why wouldn't you like to have something that the different parties can connect to? Business is a lot about cooperation these times. And I probably have some time left, right? Is that the time? Yeah. So maybe it's a good time to let you ask questions.
The questions for me? One of the things I would just say on this, and there's a few questions which are coming in as well, is blockchain, it's a difficult concept for those of you who perhaps haven't seen it or heard about it before. So I hope that gave you a little bit of an overview. Please, if you've got any questions, just pop them in now and I can actually put them to Henrik. But I wanted to start on this top one, because I think this is quite an interesting argument that I've had with a few people about whether lawyers are concerned. Are they on board? Because arguably your point with your very well displayed pie charts of the US and various other networks is that it's taking out the middlemen, and the middlemen are the legal teams. So what's your thoughts on that?
Well, of course, lawyers are usually conservative, and they should be, because of course you should look at the legal implications. In general, my layman's view about this is a chain of evidence, or if you have good evidence, digital signatures proven by mathematics, and you have some professors vouching for this, it should count as evidence in the court. So that's one aspect. But for lawyers as a profession, this could actually be a good thing. So they could offer workflows, smart contracts that have been inspected by them. So they can build up a marketplace and be developers, look at processes and do this earlier. So rather than wait for a conflict to occur and settle it down, they can look at all the cases, the corner cases, and see how can we solve this in a programmatic way so the issues never arrives. But yeah,
I think just as an extension of that as well, it was an anonymous question, but I'm certainly seeing in the UK an increase in a lot of legal teams and legal companies coming to me to say, look, how are we going to adapt? And there are some very forward-thinking lawyers over here who realize that actually there's still a need for lawyers to almost instigate the code element. So it just means, again, like that question earlier on where we asked whether the commercial agents' jobs would change, yes, no. And I think the idea in the end was that the agreement was that agents wouldn't lose their jobs, but their jobs would change. I think there's certainly an argument here that lawyers' roles would change in property transactions. Okay, Henrik, I'm going to thank you there. I have had a load of questions on this, so thank you ever so much for that. It's now come back on. But in view of it being the end of the day, we have one more presentation before just the closing addresses. So would you please thank Henrik for his involvement. Thank you. Well done. Okay, so we're going to move on to the last presentation of the day, and interestingly for me really the point about blockchain as well is it's increasing this liquidity of deal flow within the property sector, speeding up the inefficiencies that we're having at the minute in our current system. So I'd like to invite onto the stage, please, another discussion in this sector, really, and invite Cyril from IPSX to talk about a new way of property investing, which I'm quite fascinated by. So, Cyril, please take the stage, and over to you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.